and today we're covering ISO 2701, 27001. And so ISO stands for International Standards Organization. Why are we covering ISO 27001 and why is it important? And what is it actually? Let's start with that. What does it mean, ISO 27001? It covers an information security management system. Now, it's basically a specification for an information security management system, also known as ISMS. ISMS. And what's an ISMS? An ISMS is a framework of policy procedures. Policies and procedures that includes all things like legal, physical, and technical controls which are involved in an organization's information risk management processes. So policies and procedures for legal, physical, technical controls. That's what an ISMS is. It's a framework to do all that. So what are the requirements of ISO 27001? The requirements are there's a couple of mandatory requirements if you want to get certified against it against the ISO standard. You need to have information security policy and risk objectives. You need to have information risk treatment processes, a risk treatment plan to take care of that. You need to be able to report on that, have risk assessment reports. Need to have records of training, of skills and experience and qualifications of your staff. You need to have logging, monitoring, and measurement of results. You need to have an internal audit program to make sure that you can actually deliver on what you promise and show the results of internal audits. Results of the management review need to be there, results of corrective action. So it's like a PDCA, a plan, detect and process and make better circle actually. Plan PDCA circle like Deming originally came up with that, a quality development circle. Why is it important? Well, it's the only auditable international standard that defines the requirements of an ISMS, of an information security management system. And it's used broadly, it's used worldwide. The set of policies, procedures, processes, and systems that manages risks. So such as cyber attacks and hacks and data leaks and data theft. That's what you use ISO 27001 for. So it helps you build a strong connection with your clients and reach enterprise level clients when you're a smaller vendor and you want to explain that your SaaS solution is actually cybersecurity organized. The cybersecurity around your SaaS solution is organized and accredited through ISO 27001. For example, there's many more standards, but this is one that's very well known out there. Now, where does it come from? It draws coordination between all sections of an organization. It also enhances management responsibility. It ensures continual improvement to conduct internal audits and to undertake corrective and preventative actions. Get better at your security, cybersecurity, ISMS, for example. What you're looking here at, for example, the screen right now, that is the full ISO 7001 knowledge graph. You can find all this data in the link below or in the show notes, where you can search, filter, sort on all this data that's in here. So what are we actually looking at? Well, let me walk you through it. What we're looking at before we go to the three most important questions to ask for the ISO standard. Now, let's have a look. I'm going to pull it up on my screen here, so I've got the full overview. There we go. What we're looking at here are blue balls, we're looking at pink balls, and we're looking at other colored balls. The blue balls, they are the use cases. I'm clicking on one here on the top. The blue balls, they are the use cases. So they are the activities that need to be in place for ISO for the ISMS. I'm not going to call out ISO 27001 all the time. It's getting tiring. ISMS, let's do that. Makes it a whole lot easier. For the ISMS to be in place and be successful in your organization. So for the whole process to be in place, you need to have those critical capabilities in place and organized. Those are the big blue balls. So what you're looking at here is the knowledge graph for everything. So the knowledge graph is something that we've built. We've built AI that prioritizes its own criteria, creates its own criteria, prioritizes it, and the related questions based on in-house developed machine learning. So that's what you're looking at here, the knowledge graph that came out of it, and what you can find in the link below, and you can play around with. This is what you're looking at here is data visualization. What we've done here, so we've taken the content that you see in the link below, pushed it in here, so it's visualized now, and makes it more appealing to just simply look at. The ping balls, those are the questions that we need to be asking ourselves when we deal with an ISMS. So those are the questions we need to be asking ourselves. Do we have that in place? And use those questions in management team meetings, in team meetings, when I have discussions with vendors. Do we actually take care of that, and do we have that in place? Now you also see a lot of gray balls, tiny gray balls, like here on the top here, for instance, and here a lot of tiny gray balls. The tiny gray balls, they are important words that are related to the topic at hand. So if we want to focus on one specific topic, for instance, cyber, or for instance, security or risk, just one word, I can open that up and out come all the criteria that are related to that. Really useful to me. The green balls here, they show you the priorities, the priority number. So I think there's 2,300 critical capabilities in the ISMS self-assessment, in the ISMS Kanban, down below in the link, and you see them all here on your screen in the blue screen, in the blue balls. So the little green balls, they actually tell you what their prioritization number is. So it makes it easy to find the highest prioritized ones, and we shall surely be diving into those in this half an hour, and go and have a look at that. Now, before we go any further, let's just pull up, and this can be a little bit slow because it's got the whole enchilada on screen right now, so it can take a while for it to pop up and go away. Let's have a look. There it is. And there's also, as you can see, the yellow balls here, and the yellow balls, I can point on it, but you can't see it. The yellow balls will actually tell you the most important word that the critical capability is related to, so the activity is related to. So that makes it very useful and helpful to actually go and look for a specific area that I want to focus on. Now let's go for the very most important question. The third most important question in ISO 27001. Here we go. Have you implemented an audit program, ensured results are reported to management, and retained documented information as evidence of the audit program and audit results? See, it's specifically focusing on auditing of ISMS, on having an audit program in place to be successful with an ISMS program. So how do we actually do that? And that's the critical capability that we see here, the big blue ball that opens up now. Make sure the cybersecurity risk management services support the CSO, Information Security and Cyber Protection Program, by providing a structured approach to integrating risk management and information security into the SDLC of IT systems and services, system development lifecycle. Okay, good. That'll give us a lot of log detail and a lot of detail to work from. Now, what else can we look at when I click on, double click on that one? What else can we look at? How many staff work with you, and how's the group structure? That's a good question to ask when I put an ISMS in place, because it's all about processes and procedures. So who's accountable for what, and who needs to take care of what actually? Operational excellence lead. That's the person I would be asking that question to. What you see here as well is the orange, is it orange? Yeah, orange balls. The orange balls, they are actually the job roles that have accountability and responsibilities in an ISMS related program project. Here, the operational excellence lead is responsible for making sure this is in place. So this whole area is done. So answer this question, do this, and I can ask another question of that person. And this is the question that person needs to answer. This is the person that needs to answer the question. While I'm talking to the operational excellence lead, I might as well ask a couple of other questions to make sure that we have all this under control in relationship to our ISMS, to make sure that all the trails are necessary for tracking system transactions. What is the liability for information misuse by partners and third parties? Can risk be calculated on a control's maturity level? Which processes and activities are subject to the most frequent and significant threats? It would be nice to know. Now I'm going to click on that and see I can double click on each and every question and each and every area, and out come more areas that I need to focus on. Yep. Ensure you understand the inner workings of the tools you use in your work. You can even operate without heavily leaning onto pre-tooled processes and systems. So be smart about your work, operational excellence lead. All right, so let's go back to poof where we were. We were at the number 3 most important question, and this is how everything's connected. That's where we were. So these are the little gray balls. I told you about that. The little gray balls will also tell me a simple way of deep diving into one area. For instance, cybersecurity. I want to focus on salaries, cyber system, employers. I can double click on that and poof out pop all critical capabilities that are related to that, specifically cloud here. What you see here is this is a must-have priority, and that's where the prioritization of the AI and machine learning comes into play. It shows you that this is one of the highest. Well, actually, it's in the top 3, so yeah, it must be the highest. 2,388 is the green ball. That shows us that this is the highest one of the top 3 highest prioritized criteria to actually have in place. This question must have. So we have must have up until should have. It's organized into 4 different capability areas. When you do the must haves, you definitely have everything in place and done really well. And it's related to one main topic, security. So I won't do that, but if I double click on security, it'll go blah, 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 because obviously ISMS is related to security. Now let's go to the next one. Have you implemented an audit program? Ensure results are reported to management and retain documented information as evidence of the audit program and audit results. We covered that one. Next one. Has an information security risk assessment process been established to include risk acceptance criteria? So what's our risk tolerance, our risk appetite in our organization? We need to discuss that with legals and fiscal affairs departments to ensure that information security requirements are included in contracts. By liaising with vendor management and procurement organizations. Now it gets interesting. You see here, it's another must-have. And we can ask another question while we're doing this. Are information security policies documented, kept current, and disseminated to all employees, vendors, contractors, and partners? Helpful, useful. Let's ask that of the senior cloud software engineer when you take care of all of that. And let's ask some other questions. What can the ISMS implementation project manager do to ensure success? Ask other questions of that person. So here you see, these are the top 2 most important questions to ask when dealing with an ISMS. These are the top 2 and how they're related. Now, let's go for the number 1. The number 1, and I won't read the other ones, but this: how does your organization place confidence in the actual information security controls of business partners? That is the number 1. Understand the security tooling, integration and automation needs of security governance, risk and compliance, security engineering and innovation, security operations and incident response, and cyber solutions, implementing solutions to promote business growth and differentiation through security tooling and automation. I couldn't have said it any better myself. If I have this in place, this process, then I've got an ISMS going that's burning like fire and doing really well. So these are the 3. And if I double click on this one as well, you can see here an extra question. Why incident response solutions? What kind of role is attached to that? Public health advisor. Yeah, it could be interesting if you deal with HIPAA, for instance, in an IT environment. And when I double click, oh no, don't double click that one because that's the main one, then everything opens up. And when I double click the 3 questions, open up the 3 questions, then I can see how everything's connected. This is number 3. And there we go. So this is the blueprint of the top 3 most important questions for an ISMS, for ISO 27001, have an implementation in place. If I do these top 3 questions, have answers to these in place, which are the big blue balls, ball 1, ball 2, ball 3, then I'm like 80-90% on my way of having an ISMS organized, having an ISMS in place in my organization. So these are the top 3 questions to answer to have a successful ISMS in place. How does your organization place confidence in the actual information security controls of business partners? Has an information security risk assessment process been established to include risk acceptance criteria? And have you implemented an audit program, ensured results are reported to management, and retained documented information as evidence of the audit program and audit results? Ta-da! There you go. Have this in place. Now, let's continue. These are the top three ones, the top three questions. Now, I can also, if I want to deep dive into one of those areas, and I go like, I want to know more about let's risk acceptance, for instance. What's our risk acceptance? I can just go, and that's what I can do in the Kanban down here below as well. I can search just on simple keywords in here as well. Let's go, well, access control, don't know if it's in here, but assessment. Let's go assessment. I want to see just the top 10 questions that are related to the assessment itself. Is there a difference between a risk assessment and a risk analysis? Are your processes for monitoring assessments standards effective? What statistical tools do you use to support your risk assessment as part of your planning approach? See, I'm just using a keyword here to pull up questions that are relevant to something that I want to dive into, that I want to discover and engage with. And again, I can double click and all the stuff comes up that's related to this. All the roles that are related to this, the criteria that need to be in place, the questions I need to ask, and other areas I can be looking at while I'm doing this. Pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. And it makes it really easy to get something in place by deep diving on something. Into something. Now the Kanban, like I said below, that's why we use a Kanban. A Kanban is really easy to use. A Kanban is like a project management tool. You can assign a record or a swim lane or a record in one of those swim lanes that's prioritized to a person or a team in that Kanban. Really easy, really simple. You can attach timelines to it and you got your whole project management going. So it's all here already, the blueprint of what to do, how to do it, and make sure that that's in place. People can tick it off, okay, yep, done that, on to the next one. It's all there. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So this is another way of just deep diving into all the criteria that are in there, the 2,300, by just asking specific questions for a topic, for instance here, assessment. And I can also do the same when I just want to focus on the use cases themselves. Which use cases focus on assessment? Do that. Assessment. Which use cases focus on assessment? Here they are. Develop experience performing information security risk assessments, conduct security and privacy risk assessments to identify areas of unexpected risk to business and technology operations, and so forth. So these are, and these are the top three. I can just focus on the top three as well. Warrant that your team is conducting security risk assessments and compliance audits. Identify and incorporate applicable regulatory requirements for data protection and IT security into the risk assessment and management program. And a long one, I'm not going to read this out loud, but you can pause it and you can have a look at it yourself in the replay. So these are the ones containing assessments, really simple. Another way of dealing with, of getting your ISMS in place, or at least having the discussion going, is to have a look at something cool that's built in, that's here. It's the word cloud. So the AI and ML pick up the most important words that are related to the topic at hand, ISMS in this case, and they pull apart each and every word and prioritize them. So I can then, for example, pull this up on the screen. That's what I do in management team meetings. Pull this up on the screen and go like, okay, guys, let's. If I don't know how to guide the discussion, if I want to guide the discussion to somewhere else, pull this up and go like, hey, let's focus on reports. Be certain that your operation is creating professional reports for your internal clients that detail assessment findings. Good. How do I do that? I do that here. And what, if any, findings should the auditor identify? That's what I need to know. Let's get this person involved here, that role. And I can deep dive and focus more on these areas that are related to that. So this is another way of just deep diving into it by going and have a look at the word cloud. It gives me an instant overview of what's important when dealing with an ISMS. Software, manufacturing, future, change, business, audit, manage, client, implementation, customer, performance, product, process, leadership, organizations, planning, involvement, etc., etc. Very useful to just get the discussion going. And I love this word cloud because I can deep dive into any topic, for instance. If I want to focus on ISMS in relationship to a supplier, I can go supplier. Confirm that your operation is involved in managing critical supplier partnerships, negotiations, and contract agreements. Are there policies and agreements to maintain the security of information transferred within or without your organization? Hey, HR systems analysts, do we do that? And ask a couple of other questions of that person. All right. The important words, like a word cloud. So that's really helpful as well when I'm dealing with an ISMS with ISO 27001. Now, one of the processes and activities that need to be in place. So just like the three most important questions, I can bring up the three most important use cases, the three most important things to do. So these are the three most important things to do. Establish, let's start with the top left. Establish that your operation works collaboratively with all team members uh, to collect quality management system and information security management input, update existing processes, procedures, work instruction, and guidance documentation. Cool. Make sure the cybersecurity risk management services support the CSO information security and cyber protection program by providing a structured approach to integrating risk management and information security into the SDLC. See, we had those before because that's one of the important questions. Work with the important security risk and compliance team to support the development and updating of your internal client security policies and standards and ensure the ongoing compliance with both regulatory obligations and internally developed policies and standards that are in alignment with industry standards. So just like we had with the three most important questions, I can sort of go like, boom, here we have the vast majority of the process that needs to be in place to have a successful ISMS, or at least start thinking about what we need to have in place and what we need to be doing to have that ISMS in place. All the activities are here. And you see, this is related to an important question, the big red one. That's the one that we dealt with before. The big theme here is obviously security, and they're all must-haves. These are the must-have activities that you need to have in place to have a successful ISMS ISO 27001 program in place. All right. So another way of looking at it is, and what I'm using as well quite often, is all the questions that are in the full knowledge graph. These are all the questions. They're beautiful pink balls. Let me zoom out and then zoom in again so you can see there's a lot of questions. These questions, where do they come from? They come from our books. And the books are available, Amazon, etc. But they'll and the toolkits that come with the books. And in the toolkit, all these questions are prioritized. And if you go further down these questions, you mature. If you are better at answering any of these questions, you slowly mature up into the manageable area. So from the defining area to the managed area and the growing area. How should implementation teams be organized? Do you have criteria for the evaluation, selection, monitoring of performance, and re-evaluation of your external providers? Is the content target group oriented and clearly phrased? When is ISO 27001 gap analysis performed? See, all relevant and interesting questions to dive into. I usually quite often pop this up in management team meetings as well, and just go randomly, give it a whirl, and go, we're doing this question right now to see if we can answer what's going on here. And what are the expected cost of risk reduction activities? Let's focus on that one, I say. Establish that your group practices regulatory compliance and overall risk reduction. All right, good question. Good one to do. And how do we actually do that? By focusing on all these areas, and it's related to compliance, definitely. So the questions, they give me an excellent handle on actually getting started with ISMS. So it also gives me a great opportunity to lead a team into what actually do we need to be covering here without bringing up the critical capabilities, the big blue balls right away. I can start with the three most important questions, like what we started out with, and then follow on with, okay, what are the other questions that we need to be focusing on? So definitely make sure that we have all this in place. and I will pan over it a bit so you can pause in the replay and have a look at it when you pause. You can also find all these questions in the links below and play around with those. Another way of looking at it then, because these are questions, they're related to use cases. So obviously, when I relate them to each other, here they are. These are the use cases and the questions that are related to them. And only limited to 100. What happens if I limit it to, and there's only like 2,300 use cases in there. But so let's see if I pull them all up. Will it be really slow? Can the system handle it? Or will it go, yep, we can handle it. Oh yeah, we can handle it. It's a bit slow, but we can handle it. If I zoom out, it'll probably look like, oh, there they are. This looks like one of those pictures like, what do you see? Do you see a starfish or do you see a snowball? I'm seeing a knowledge graph for ISO 27001, and I hope you see that as well. The big blue balls, they're the critical capabilities to have in place, and the pink balls, they are the questions that are aligned to them. I will zoom in a bit so you can have a peek at some of them that are in there and how it's all aligned and works together. So that's all down in the link below, and you can have a look at that there. The other one that I wanted to show you is the job roles. We quickly touched upon the job roles that are in here. The job roles that are related to an ISMS, there's many job roles that are related to an ISMS that deal with an ISMS. So it's not just IT management or a CIO or security advisor or anyone dealing with security in an organization, but many people in an organization can deal from a risk perspective with an ISMS, cybersecurity analyst, security senior advisor, contracts administrator, product manager, computer network operations officer, digital workplace technology engineer, all these roles. And what we've got here is, if you click on those and talk to this person, these are the questions that this person needs to be able to answer. What kind of user training and support is provided to users? Do you monitor and quantify the types, volumes, and impacts on all information security incidents? What is the business case for addressing the risk? The cybersecurity analyst, senior advisor needs to be able to answer those questions and actually put activities into place, here we are, to make sure that these are all covered. Now, why am I pulling this up? The orange balls are really useful to figuring out what kind of job roles you need to have in your organization that cover an ISMS. And if you have those job roles already, what kind of accountability, what responsibilities these people need to have in your organization to make sure that the ISMS works really well. And as you can see, there's a lot of roles that are attached to it. Let's just pick up the limited to the top 10 roles. So the top 10 most important roles, and see for the fun of it what comes up. I'm also seeing this a lot used when people get ready for job applications. So they use this to focus on the questions that are being asked of a certain part, and then a deep dive into what kind of answers they need to be giving, what they need to be ready for in an organization to make sure they're doing the job well. So these are the important jobs related to an ISMS. The Chief Risk Officer, technical program manager, senior manager, security operations, operational excellence lead, quality supervisor, most important roles related to this. Senior manager, security operations, obviously a lot of questions that are asked of that person. And for the role itself, and what I'm now going to do is I'm going to open up and unclick a few balls. So you can also centralize, and that's what I wanted to show you here, centralize a role. And then everything that's related to that role, what you need to be doing for that role, what needs to be in place, how it's prioritized. So I'm pulling apart the role. The role goes all the way here, and these are the activities that I need to be doing for that part, for that role. See, there you go, double click. So it's really helpful, this from a role perspective as well, to figure out what are the responsibilities that I need to be doing from a certain perspective, certain role. By now, you know the three most important questions to ask, and I pull them up again for ISO 2771701. The three most important questions for an ISMS to have that in place. These are the three most important questions that we started out with, and I gave you a whole lot more, the whole enchilada of an ISMS and its knowledge graph that's here. These are the top 3 most important questions. Again, I'm going to leave you with this. Go to the link below, play around with the Kanban. You'll see it's all there. Have fun with it. Thanks for your interest. I enjoyed having you here. I had a good time, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.